Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of HowToIT. Today I am going to show you how to optimize a Windows XP workstation. As you can see, I've got a Windows XP workstation loaded here. It doesn't have a lot of stuff on it right now, but I'm going to show you some general tips on how to improve the speed of any Windows XP workstation. Obviously there are some things that you could do to a more bogged down system. But I'll be covering those in a video in the future on how to do a workstation cleanup. For now, I'm going to show you how to do some general optimizations and hopefully speed up your machine. You can feel free to do one or all of these optimizations as they are independent of each other, but they can all help together to optimize your system and make sure it's performing to its full potential. The first thing I'm going to do is disable some of the processes that make Windows XP a lot prettier to use. Going down to the Start menu, and then right-clicking on My Computer, and going to the Properties option, we can access the properties of our computer. From here, we should go to the Advanced tab, and then the Performance section, and hit the Settings button. This will give us a list of a lot of things that we can potentially disable to improve the performance of our computer. However, I find it easiest just to hit the Adjust for Best Performance button and then hit OK. We can also close out of this screen. What this has done is it has disabled a lot of the animations and automatic beautification that Windows does to our desktop. In order to complete this, I like to set up a new background. Right-clicking on the desktop, going to the Properties option, and then going to the Desktop tab, we can set a new background for our computer. I like to use No Background as it requires no additional processes from Windows to load, and setting it to the nice gentle blue color. Hitting OK closes this screen, and we have our completed optimized Windows desktop. This is the one step that I like to do first on a machine, and then I will also take further steps if necessary to optimize the computer. The next step in optimizing your Windows XP workstation involves going to the disk cleanup process. Opening My Computer, right-clicking on your hard drive, which in most cases is going to be called Local Disk C, and then going to the Properties menu, we can see a summary of our hard drive. If we go down here to the Disk Cleanup option, Windows will automatically try to compile a list of items that can be cleaned up to free up hard drive space. Coincidentally, freeing up hard drive space can in most cases speed up your computer. Here's a list of all the things that can be cleaned off of our computer. In most cases, I like to just check all of them and then hit OK. However, in this case, I don't want to compress old files, as this can sometimes slow down your computer. Since this is a brand new workstation, there's not a lot to clean up, but I just wanted to show you how to go through this process. Windows will automatically perform the tasks that we have checked, and then we can hit OK to close this screen. The next thing we can do is disable the automatic indexing service included in Windows. The indexing service automatically goes through our files and puts them into a list so that we can search them easier. However, this puts a lot of strain on the processor and can also degrade the life of your disk. If we right-click on our disk again and go to Properties, this checkbox down here allows us to disable the automatic indexer. Then we simply hit OK, and OK again to make sure it's disabled on the entire drive, and the indexer will be turned off. We can ignore any errors in this case. Now that we're done in this screen, I'm going to close my computer. The next step I'm going to show you should probably be performed on any Windows XP workstation, regardless of how it's performing. Windows XP is the last Windows operating system that does not include an automatic defrag utility. To download a defrag utility, I'm going to open Internet Explorer by going to the Start menu and opening Internet Explorer. Now all of these flash images and pictures took a really long time to load, so I'm going to change our home page in a little bit. But for now, since we know where we're going, I'm going to type 9ite.com into the URL bar. 9ite is a very easy to use utility that I think everyone should get acquainted with, as it allows you to install any utility without downloading all of the garbage that usually comes with it. Scrolling down to the utilities and putting a checkbox next to OSLogix, I can now hit Get Installer and then Download Installer to run the program. Since I'm not planning on keeping this installer around, I'm just going to hit Run and then Run again to start the 9ite installer. I'm now going to close Internet Explorer as I don't need it anymore. 9ite will automatically download and install this utility for us without any additional work. Perfect. Let's use OSLogix for the first time. Opening the program, it gives me a display of my hard drive and what blocks have been used by all of the data. Using this down arrow and hitting Defrag and Optimize is a very easy and simple way of automatically going through my disk and making sure that all of my files are in what are called contiguous blocks, which is a fancy way of saying making sure that 1 comes before 2 and 4 comes after 3. Since this hard drive is small, it won't take that long to go through and defrag and optimize the drive. It will take a little bit too long for us though, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. OSLogix is safe to run in the background while we do other things. So now I'm going to show you how to change the home page in Internet Explorer, because earlier we saw that the home page is loaded with flash videos and pictures that can greatly slow down any computer. Going to the Tools button and then the Internet options inside Internet Explorer, it automatically puts us into the home page section. So we can just go ahead and type in our favorite home page. Hitting OK, closing Internet Explorer, and then opening Internet Explorer again will show us how our home page has been changed to something with a lot less flash images and pictures. You didn't notice the performance increase on my computer, but on slower machines this will definitely help you out. Let's check out how OSLogix has been doing. Looks like it finished. Now the difference between OSLogix and the included defragmentation utility on Windows is that it does a better job of making sure that files are next to each other, and it also likes to go and take the system files, which are frequently accessed, and put them at the faster sections of the disk. Now that this is done, I can go ahead and close OSLogix. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to tell Windows to check the file system for errors. This, in addition to fragmentation, can cause a lot of issues. Opening my computer, right-clicking on the C drive, and hitting Properties, we can then go to the Tools tab and hit Check Now on the Error Checking section. Notice how there is a defragmentation utility included with Windows, but the OSLogix program is both free and does a better job of it. So let's go ahead and hit check now. We're also going to want to make sure that it automatically fixes file system errors, and we can go ahead and hit start. Since this is checking files that are integral to the operation of the system, it can only be done after a reboot. So we'll go ahead and schedule this for the next time we restart our computer. We can then hit OK and close out of this screen. Now after the cleanup is complete, we can go ahead and restart our computer and let the file checker see if there are any issues with the hard drive that it can repair. This will usually happen automatically and should not require any input from you, but it will output if it finds and fixes any errors. For your own reference, this is what it looks like when checkdisk is executing. Your computer appears to boot normally, but then a blue screen, which is not to be confused with the blue screen of death, appears, asking you if you want to skip the disk check. Since our disk is small, I'm going to let it go through so you can see what the end screen looks like. Now the next step we're going to do is to make sure that Windows never tries to shut off part of itself in order to conserve power. Right-clicking on the desktop and hitting Properties, go ahead and go over to the Screensaver tab, use the drop-down box, and select None for your screensaver. We can then hit OK. Screensavers are known to cause issues if your computer suddenly goes into a screen-saving state when you're working on something. The next step is to make sure that our power options are configured correctly. Going down to the Start button, and then the Control Panel. If your Control Panel doesn't look like this, make sure that you've hit the button that should say Switch to Classic View. Going into the power options, we want to make sure that our power scheme is set to Always On. We can then have the monitor never turn off, and we can also make sure that the disks are never set to turn off. This is an optional step, however, as you can include the ability for the monitor to turn itself off. We can now hit OK and close out of the control panel. The last thing I'd like to show you is how to modify the startup entries in your computer to make sure that no programs are running in the background when you do a fresh boot of your PC. Go to the Start menu, hit the Run command, and type in the word MSConfig. You might have seen this in one of my other videos, but as a reminder, we shouldn't touch anything in here unless we are sure of what we're doing. In the Startup tab is where you'll find a list of all the programs that start when your computer is first turned on. In some cases, after a long period of use, this will be loaded with entries, most of which can usually be turned off without impacting any of the services of your computer negatively. In this case, since it's a fresh computer, I literally have no startup options. We can go ahead and click OK once we're done in this screen. MSConfig will always ask you to restart if you've been in its menu, but in most cases we can exit without restart. That concludes this episode of HowToIT. I hope you learned something new, and here's a cheat sheet you can use in the future if you ever have to go through and optimize a Windows XP workstation. For a brief summary, the steps we went through were: we first disabled the appearance options by adjusting for best performance. We disabled the loading of a custom background through the desktop properties. We also did a disk cleanup to free up some additional hard drive space. We disabled the automatic indexer of Windows, which automatically goes through and tries to categorize all of our files. We defragged our hard drive using the OSLogix utility. We changed our homepage in Internet Explorer to make sure that IE opens nice and quick. We scheduled a check disk of our drive to make sure that no errors are slowing down our computer. And we also disabled the power options that sometimes can cause issues with performance. Finally, we made sure that all of our startup entries in MSConfig were disabled, but you have to make sure to be very careful when using MSConfig, as you don't want to disable something that, for instance, allows you to get on the wireless network. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Once again, my name is John, and I hope you had a good time. I'll see you next time on HowToIT.